What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Shred Sessions podcast. I'm Drew Creel. Welcome to the Shred Summit. I'm here with Christian Colabelli, my partner in crime, and the mighty, the one and only, the Sultan of Shred, the great Shred Beano, Rusty Cooley.
Hey man, thank you so much. It's I'm happy to be here. It's pretty cool.
Dude,
how are you guys doing today?
Doing great, man.
Awesome.
Such a pleasure. I've been looking forward to this for a long time, man. You know, I don't think I would be the guitar player that I am today if I wouldn't have seen those videos of you playing your 8-string Conklin, you know, back in the early YouTube days. And I think just seeing a man play guitar like that was something to strive for, you know, and to see that as like, I think I was like 14 or 15 around that time. When I saw that, I was like, you know, you see the Gladiator helmet in the background, the Conklin 8-string. I was like, this is what I want to do with my life. You know?
Very cool, man. So, cool. That's cool information. Thank you for sharing.
I think I have a similar story too, because I was always into, you know, I started getting into more extreme guitar play. I know you can't tell sitting here with my arch top. I'm just out of town playing some shows up here, but up north. But I got to tell you, Rusty, I somehow stumbled in the fledgling days of the internet across Chops from Hell, which was a life-changing website for me. And I picked up, which I still have in storage, your CD-ROM of Shred Manifesto and The Art of Picking. And man, that whole platform, like I just remember even the shorts, like you had some little rhythmic thing called I Wish I Were a Viking.
Yeah.
Dude, so many cool little snippets that I would sit there for in my parents' basement and like probably like 8 hours a day and just come up for food once a day and try to figure this stuff out. Because this was like the fledgling, there was no really YouTube at this time, or maybe it was just kicking off. And man, I discovered so many cool players to that. You, like Francesco Ferreri, Shane Gibson, who I loved, unfortunately passed away. Derek Taylor. But man, dude, that was just like, it was life-changing for me to hear guitar being played like that, because nobody was coming close to that level of just mastery of extreme shredding, man. And cool ideas, like totally outside the box, like taking some crazy Sean Lane-isms and making them your own. And man, it was super inspiring, dude.
Thank you, bro. Thank you so much, man.
Absolutely.
Just all my guitar heroes just pushed me to that, limit,
Yeah, totally.
It's, Sean Lane, Alan Holdsworth, Yngwie, and a lot of the underground guys too, like you mentioned, Derek Taylor, Scott Stein. Ed from Hot Cheese Kitchen, Todd Duane, Scotty Michaud,
same
relatively unknown at the time, Bumblefoot, yeah, man, all those guys, Buckethead, I just gravitate towards that kind of stuff. It's not like, I never set out to be a super fast guitar player or anything like that. And I know that's probably weird to hear me say that, but it's just all my guitar heroes just kept getting faster, and I was just trying to keep up, and seriously, that's the way I approached it. I just wanted to be as, able to play, what my guitar heroes were playing. And it just meant that I had to get faster, so.
Dude, I think it's so cool too, because you kind of like, I think you have you might not get enough credit for this, but you pushed what the actual like design of the modern shred guitar. I think you have a lot of really good input on that with, just the extreme horn that's scalloped. So you can really reach kind of unfettered all the way up, the thin neck, just the tuning on the 8-string. I mean, how did you start coming up? Was it just like, I mean, I know that one video you're even talking about where you're experimenting with the placement of the strat button to see where it would sit so you could facilitate this.
Sure. We can kind of talk about that a little bit, because there's, the obvious things on the guitar, right away is the cutaway, the depth and the width, right? I wanted the cutaway to be, I wanted to be able to get to the 24th fret without hitting the body, which you can. And I wanted to be able to do, super wide stretches. Let me grab a couple of guitars, kind of show you, show you where the whole thing evolved from.
Awesome.
This is sick. Yeah. So, I mean, I just kind of wonder, and I'll ask Rusty this in a second, but is it because he's a product of that shred era that he wanted to, like, he played so fast, or was it just kind of an essential way of playing? You know, that's something that we can get into, but
I think both, man.
He's getting all the old ones out.
There's the one, man, that multicolor guy back there. That's the project one that kind of influenced everything, man.
That's where it all started, man.
That's so sick.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
So awesome.
Wow.
So every signature model guitar that I've had, or every guitar that I've designed, has been based off this one. Right.
Wow.
So years ago, I was teaching at a guitar shop here in Houston called Bateman Music, and one of the guys that was an employee of the store was also a guitar builder. So I had been playing on a guitar that was made out of Ormsby parts that me and my dad put together and painted, and it was like a Randy Rhoads Jackson, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And Randy Rhoads was one of my all-time favorite guitar players, you know, growing up. So, you know, I'd been playing on that, but I wanted to start playing Strat guitars, and every time I pick up a Strat or any kind of thing that resembled a Strat in the guitar shop, well, my hand would hit. You know, so I decided to have, you know, this guy at this shop, his name's Rick Becker, build me a guitar. So we ordered a Warmoth body and neck, and this was just kind of like a soloist style body or something like that. And so he would start working on the cutaway, and I'd come out of a lesson and he'd go, "Here, is this big enough?" And I'd go, "No, keep going," you know. So we just literally carved it out until it was just, you know, didn't matter what kind of stretch, you know, anywhere on the guitar wasn't going to be in the way, you know. So that's where the whole cutaway width and depth came in. Now, on the back, it's super important to have it sculpted out too. You know what I mean? Wow. And I didn't quite have all of the ideas then, because keep in mind, this was in '88, right? So, but I was formulating the ideas. So I knew that it needed to be sculpted out and kind of smoothed out, you know, like this. I didn't really have the concept to shave the neck heel way back yet. So what we did was we just kind of cut it, you know, in half like that, you know, kind of,
okay,
so I could get up more. The whole idea of getting the heel of the guitar way back didn't come in until, right. So, but it started with that, you know, that's the cutaway. Now the neck on this thing is a compound radius. So that just means that just gets flatter the higher you go up on the fretboard. Right.
Mm-hmm. So, and what's the actual neck shape? Is the neck shape more of a C? Is it a D? Is it super thin?
I think it's kind of like this one. This is, I wouldn't say it was uber thin, but it's pretty thin. It's like an old Ibanez, you know, RG neck or whatever, Wizard or something, which is pretty thin, but, you know, it's not as thin as some of the necks that I'm using now. And, you know, you can see on this one, well, it's actually kind of hard to see, but there's like about 4 or 5 different places where I moved the strap to get it to play better. There's like 3 up here where I moved it.
Wow.
It's kind of hard to see in the way. And, you know, to me, it didn't matter that I was putting another hole in my guitar. What mattered to me was the guitar was going to play and sit right. You know, that was the most important to me. It's not like I'm not worried about, you know, I never was going to sell this guitar ever, you know, that sort of thing. The headstock has been broken off 3 times.
Dude, the story is awesome. I saw the video. That's so cool.
Yeah, so that's been broken off a few times. I lost that piece at a gig. This piece is glued back on. I mean, this guitar has seen so many hours. It's not even funny. But this is where it all started, you know what I mean? Yeah.
What about the slanted neck pickup? Is that to get more hair on like the higher strings? So how did you develop that? Because that kind of crossed over.
The cutaway's too deep.
Oh,
if I were to make it yeah,
gotcha.
If you stick that pickup out, it's going to just poke out of the guitar.
So hang off the end.
It wasn't so much a tonal thing as a necessity. I needed it to be able to make the cutaway deep enough. Right.
Cool.
So that started there. Now a guitar that, you know, so I had this guitar, and then when I started playing 7-string, I had an Ibanez Universe, and it was like going backwards because now I went from a great cutaway all access to now having to fight the cutaway and all that stuff. Looking back, I'll watch some old videos, and I actually did pretty good, you know, fighting the cutaway, all things considered. But, you know, it's so much easier just to get it out of the way. But, you know, so the guitar that after playing Ibanez for a while, I got a Jackson deal. and Jackson made me a guitar that had probably one of the thinnest necks I've ever owned on any guitar. I got that from the custom shop and had it make a super thin neck, and it had the cutaway. It was sculpted out this way, but it didn't have it in the back or nothing like that. So it was kind of on the right path, but it wasn't there yet. And then when I got with Dean, we just did it right.
The Jackson one is the one from all the Chops from Hell DVDs. I remember
that's the one that's on the cover of my instrumental album.
Cool,
that's like the natural finish Jackson.
Yes. So when I went to Tampa to fly down there to design this guitar, that's the guitar I took with me, the Jackson. I had pictures of the orange guitar for the cutaway, but I took my Jackson down there specifically because of the thinness of that neck on the Jackson. It was thinner than any of the Ibanez guitars that I ever had. So super thin. I took that one down to spec out for the neck thickness and more of the body size too, because the Jackson body was smaller than the Ibanez bodies.
Yeah,
I'm like 5'8" on a good day. So, I don't need a big body taking up my entire torso. Like that Conklin 8-string, that body on that guitar was huge. It was huge this way. So if I was holding that Conklin, if I looked down too quick, I could potentially hit my chin on the guitar, So I wanted the smaller body for the Dean and, and I wanted the big cutaway. So now with this, you can see, you have to, when you have the deep cutaway, it doesn't help if you don't have this kind of cut out of your way too, because you're still going to slide up here and hit your hand on the back of the horn if it's all squared out, right? So we had to carve this in, and then you sculpt this all out so it's nice and smooth for your hand as well. And the heel, we brought the heel way back too, right? Like on the orange one, it was just like a normal heel, like an old strat or whatever. We kind of just cut it in half. But with this, I brought this way back. So it's on the low B side. That right there is at right at the, what is that? Let's see. It's right at the 20th fret.
Wow, that's insane.
The low B side. So the high E side, that's at, what is that? 22? No, it's 21 right there on that side. So, so you can get up here and, really get up there and play. And it's also kind of beveled down too. So it's not just still bulky. So you just got to kind of get it out of the way. So that way, when you come up here, you kind of just get right up in there and, it just works.
Yeah. What a sick guitar.
And also the other thing that's really important too is, I don't know if you guys noticed, but on a lot of guitars, when you get up to the heel, the necks will still be square.
Yeah, totally.
We beveled the whole neck all the way around to get it out of the way, so it's not super square there as well. And another super important thing that a lot of people don't realize is that when we designed this guitar, I had the neck sunk deeper into the neck pocket. Okay. And what that does is that means that my tremolo is now flush with the body, top of the body.
That's so important.
The plate right there is actually a little bit lower than the top of the body on this guitar. So what that does is it just helps your picking, right? So it doesn't matter what string I'm on. If you're on an old school guitar, the trims sit way up out of the body, right? So it's okay when you're picking, but you get down to the low E string and then your hand drops off. Then your picking's all jacked up, right? With this, my picking doesn't change no matter what string I'm on. Right? So by sinking the neck lower into the neck pocket, I can bring my tremolo down more flush with the body. And you can see, I don't know if you can see on here, but you can see that when you look at the edge of the fretboard, you can't see any maple. That's how deep it's in the pocket, right?
That's absolutely incredible.
And I don't think you can see that here, but anyway.
You can kind of see it. But the fine tuners too, are those, it looks like they're not getting in the way either.
I can't play a regular Floyd for that reason.
I always hated that about Floyds, to be honest with you.
So you notice my orange guitar has a regular Floyd on it. If you go back and watch any videos of me playing that guitar, you'll notice that I used to hold my pick between my thumb and middle finger, and when I would pick fast, my elbow would come way out. And I didn't realize why I was doing that. I just knew I had to have a Floyd Rose, and so I was doing that to compensate for the fine tuners being in the way. And I only know this now. It's hindsight now, because when I got my Ibanez with low profile tuners on it on the tremolo, within about a month or two, my picking went back to here, and my elbow came back in, and that's when I went, this is why I was doing all that weird shit.
So crazy, man.
Yeah. So that moment that I knew then I could never go back to a regular tremolo. Every one of my guitars has to have a low profile, because now I can pick wherever I want, and it's the fine tuners are out of the way. Because a lot of times when I'm picking super fast, I might be way back here, over the pickup. You know what I mean? Because that's, for me, that's a very optimal place to pick. I tune my guitars down a half step. I still use nines. It's usually a 58 or a 60 for the low B. But when the closer you get to the neck, you get into what I call the flub zone. Like if you take your string right where it meets the fretboard and pull it floor to ceiling, right? And then you do that right at the saddle, you're going to notice an incredible difference. So where do you think the most optimal place to pick is? Well, wherever there's the less give, right? So you're up here.
Exactly.
See, the string starts to oscillate. You can see the vibration, but if you pick back here, there's no give. So it just allows for it just allows you to dig in. If I try to do that up here, it's not going to work. It's noisier.
Wow.
So for me, I have to have those to get back here to pick in that zone. Now I don't pick, back there for everything. I don't pick there for rhythm guitar. It's just super fast alternate picking stuff. But even like when I go to play some super fast low stuff, something like that, maybe, what I'll do is I'll take my hand and I kind of squeeze my palm in like this so that I can palm mute and then still get my pick back on the tighter part of the string, right? Because if you try to do that on the low string, what I do on the high string, well, then there's no palm muting. And then it just sounds gay,
Yeah. Doesn't sound as good. Yeah.
Right. It doesn't sound cool. I mean, you can't do a lot of that stuff on the low strings without palming and, have it sound rocking. So that's what I'll do to compensate for that. But anyway, back to the guitar, the whole thing, we got the neck sunk in deeper so you can get your tremolo lower, and, super tall frets, the neck's super thin. I don't know if you can really tell from this or not, but
I love that. I'm huge into that.
Super thin, and the fretboard, I do a unique thing with the neck, so it doesn't really fit into any like D, C shape sort of thing, because what I do is I have, when it comes to the sides of the neck, I have the wood so that it just kind of goes into infinity into the side of the fretboard, right?
Wow.
I don't want like a D shape, because then on a D shape you got this big block on the top and bottom, right?
Yeah,
So
totally. I hate that.
Take a D shape and shave the shoulders off, and that's what this neck is.
That's what I love. I can't stand the high shoulders. That's so interesting.
Yeah. So it's that thinness, super thin, and then no shoulders, so you can just kind of rolls off.
So Rusty, that's a USA custom Dean, right?
This is actually this is the very first one of these ever made. Wow. And it is a USA. Yeah.
There's one for sale on Reverb right now for $10,000. If anybody wants it. Yes.
Is it a Xeno side?
It's a Xena side, but it's it's a USA model.
Yeah.
So, but there are production models made in Korea that are like right around 1,000 or 1,500 that people can snag. No Ormsby's though. I couldn't find any Ormsby's.
Yeah. Now here's the thing on the imports. The imports on the RCs are not the same as the USA's until the very last model that was made. And you can tell which one it is. All the RC7, I think they were all RC7Xs. That's how you could tell it was an import, right? All of those had fatter necks. The cutaway looked as good, but it wasn't as sculpted out and everything in the back. So it didn't play as good as the USA. And I was talking to him and talked to him. I was like, man, we got to make this. We got to fix this. It's like, if you buy a Gibson Les Paul and you buy an Epiphone Les Paul, the only difference is where they're made, not in the neck shape or the way they play or anything, right? And that's the way I thought my imports should be. And finally, when they listened to me, we got it fixed. And so here's how you can tell the import that plays exactly the same as the US model. You'll tell because it has 25 and a half frets or 26 and a half frets. Let's see, 24, 25, 26. I think it's 26 and a half. Because what we did was see how the pickup's on an angle.
Yes.
I was like, let's fill that in with frets. So we did. Right. So we got all this extra area. We might as well use it for frets. So the two imports that play like the USA's, it's a trans blue or a trans black. And if you can find one of those are super shred, and it's just where it's built is the only difference.
Very cool.
And that volume knob is totally out of the way of your picking hand as well. Does that ever? Okay.
That's another super crucial thing. That was part of the whole design. You know what I mean? So I have the volume knob so that it's not close like a Strat, but I also have it so that with my trim, I can easily get in between it with my pinky to, on and off. Mm-hmm. Right. Cool. So, because if it's too close to the trim, I can't slide my pinky through there when I'm playing. If you're doing stuff super fast, you need to get in and out of there, on and off. I just kind of roll it like that, and also the selector is very crucial too, because there was a couple that I had built, and when I got them, the selector was so close that my pinky wouldn't go between the volume.
Oh, wow.
Right. So you've got to have the selector strategically placed. So it's right there, volume, 3-way. You can do it all at just quick and done and out of the way. You know what I mean?
God, I love that.
The input jacks are inverted, so I don't step on it and pull it out. And you don't realize how much you would pull the cable out until you play a guitar that the input jack's not at this direction. So I have a telly that I teach on sometimes for guys that are in standard tuning, and every time I sit down with that guitar, my foot hits the floor and pulls the cable right out. It's like, so this is a lifesaver for me, because I would do it every day, pull the cable out. But yeah, man, this is so this one here specifically is it's a maple body with the 1/4-inch maple cap, right?
Okay.
Flame maple on the back.
Beautiful.
And you see this one says RC number 2. Technically it is number 2, but it's still kind of number 1. And here's why. When this guitar was first made, it was supposed to be an import, but they couldn't get the graphic right. So we sent the very first body and very first neck over there, and we never retrieved it. They couldn't get it back from them. They said there was a language barrier, and it's like some kids probably got it in his house now. But the very first neck and body is just gone missing. It's in Japan somewhere.
That's crazy, dude.
That's why this one says RC number 2. And all of my guitars, every one that I got, there was the first or whatever I numbered. So like my fan fret 8-string says RC number 1 on it. And any other ones that were firsts, I numbered them in Sharpie. You know what I mean? So you got to have the super tall frets, ebony fretboard. It's like playing a scallop neck. So I mean, not quite as extreme, but it's my fingers touch the strings against the frets, never touch the fretboard.
Right.
You did have that one mahogany one with a maple neck, right?
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. You want to see what it looks like now?
Yeah, kind of.
So.
Oh wow!
Whoa! Look at this red pickups.
It doesn't look very pretty now, but what I did was I completely reshaped the body.
Whoa!
So I took it out back. And over time, I slowly sculpted the body into this shape. So I love the upper and lower horn, the cutaway. It looks great. It feels great. It's like even more intense. I mean, I sanded the neck down. It's even thinner, but I scalloped the hell out of it too.
Whoa! So I see that. I see it. Yeah.
Let me switch cameras real quick to get a good close up at this. Let's see. Check out those babies.
Nice, dude. Did all the Dremel.
Yeah, there was a little bit of Dremel in there. I started by hand, and then
no kidding, dude.
See how there's one really deep one up here?
Yes.
That's when I started using the Dremel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's easy, man. When you're using a Dremel, it's like I nicked a couple of frets, but
that's cool. That looks like the missing link to your Ormsby kind of signature. Yeah. That looks like it inspired it.
Yeah, kind of. I wanted all the edges just to kind of fade. So if you look at it this way, I was painting a room in my house, and I was like, hey, let me see what this looks like white. So I just paint on the back. So I did a gun stock. The reason this looks like this is because I had been experimenting with doing what do they call that? Swirls, where you dip it and all the different colors. So I experimenting with that, and then I was like, all right, well, whatever. And I just sanded it back down and put some gun stock on it, and then I hated the way it looked all brown. So I started sanding it off, and then I just got tired and haven't finished, as you can see. But you can see the sides. It kind of goes almost like to a point, right?
Mm-hmm. Cool.
And on this end, I stopped. I didn't try to get it to such a point because then I'd lose my input jack. And the jack is a little bit different. I kind of sunk it into the body, so it's cut in. See how that? So I routed it out and sunk it into the body, and then this side's not the same as it was before I started, but it's not quite as to a point.
So did that start off as a Dean guitar? And
this was the RC7 that he's talking about, the mahogany one.
Yeah,
this was the very first mahogany body with a maple neck.
Wow,
that's so cool.
That one wasn't even supposed to be a model. What happened was they built me my second RC7, and I got it, and it was super light. And I was like, this is not what ebony mahogany is supposed to feel like. So they sent me two mahogany bodies to pick from, and I went in and picked that one, sent it back, and they painted it and made me another RC7 that was heavy. I like my, if it's mahogany, it's supposed to be heavy, dude. My original Xeno side probably weighs 8 or 9 pounds. You know what I mean? It's super heavy. It's like a Les Paul. So I had the extra mahogany body left over, and I had them, and I didn't have the maple neck yet, but I had an extra neck that was a, ebony fretboard and whatnot. So I stuck that neck on this body, and I took some pictures of it, and they were like, yeah, that looks great. And I said, yeah, we should make this one too. So that's how that guitar came into to evolve. And then they sent me an all maple neck later. I put this on. But yeah, this was a regular RC7 body, and I don't know how much you noticed about the RC7 bodies, but this was the very first RC7 body shape. So the very first draft of them is a very thick upper horn. Right? Wow. And as there's 3 versions of it. The second version, this is a little bit thinner, which I don't, actually, I think I do. I think this one's got that little bit thinner. Yeah, check this out. So here's the next evolution of that. So you can see how the upper horn's a little bit, not quite as much. So it still wasn't kind of how I wanted it. So we made a third variation, which I don't own any of those anymore. But it's the final variation of that guitar body. The upper horn's super sleek, kind of like this, matches the upper horn better. It's an aesthetic thing. It's not a playing thing. It was just kind of looked bulky, but I wasn't really worried about that initially because that didn't affect my playing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And as time went on, it looked, more aesthetically pleasing. So this one here is just a crazy nut job, man. I mean, I sculpted this all way back so much to the point that the screws are above the surface, right? So I sculpted that all back even more, thinned out the neck more, scalloped the hell out of it, and here we are.
Do you play that one often?
A little bit. The only reason I don't play it a super lot is because it's been like strings off or changing the tremolo or whatever. But I've got brand new strings on it, and I've just got to set the intonation. It's not even tuned up yet. But yeah, man, the red pickups look pretty cool, right?
They do look sick.
Super sick, man. I love that you've got this very inventive mind. You're always searching. That's pretty sick, man.
Thank you for sure. And it's always about. For me, it's always about getting the guitar out of the way. When I was when I was with Ibanez Guitars, they wouldn't do any of these modifications for me. The only thing they would do is they took the back horn and sculpted it a little bit, tiny little bit, and that was the only thing they would do. Because their thought process was, we don't want to do anything that's going to change the way the guitar looks from the front, right? I mean, that's cool, but most of these guitar companies that have been around forever, with Gibson, Fender, Ibanez to a lesser degree, they kind of are insulted if you come to them with a way to make the guitar play better, because they kind of feel like, well, we've already made the best guitar in the world. If you don't want to play it, well, we'll give it to Yngwie, or we'll give it to Aldi Meola or whoever, and they'll play it. And you're like, okay, well, okay, but I can't settle for that, right? Because guitar players continue to evolve, right? Yeah. So the guitar has to evolve with the guitar player, right? If the guitar player is evolving, the guitar's got to evolve with it. And that's kind of my whole thought process behind it. My goal is just to get the guitar out of my way.
Well, so I mean, just what you said, that's what happened with Eddie Van Halen, the guitar evolved with him. That's what happened with Steve Vai. Yeah. He changed the guitar with the greenie.
Yeah. And Randy Rhoads to a lesser, well, not necessarily lesser. He wasn't out there chopping on the bodies. He had Grover Jackson do it for him.
Right.
But and those guys were definitely influences on my playing. And I mean, I started scalloping guitars in high school.
Yeah, I've done one. I did a Jag stain, which is hilarious. Kurt Cobain signature I scalloped.
The first one that I scalloped was like an old PV T27 or T16 or something.
Yeah, because you got to know what it feels like, right?
Yeah,
what that's like.
What is the difference between, is the Ormsby neck, your Ormsby Sig, like similar to these in terms of all the specs, or is it, what's the difference there? Man?
Well, here's the thing, man. The Ormsby was supposed to be the next evolution of the RC7. But
Okay.
it just wasn't. It just wasn't.
Gotcha.
They just didn't. And I don't want to.
No, it's all good, man. You don't have to.
You know, it wasn't there. It looked great. It played pretty good, but it just wasn't. Wasn't where it needed to be, and that's why I didn't stay.
Cool.
But anyway,
respect it.
Yeah, this is what replaced my Conklin.
Dang,
yeah, dude. That is so sick, man.
This is the very first RC8 fan fret. You can see it's got the Sharpie on the back, right? And Billy Gibbons signed it.
Sick, dude. Look at that thing, man.
I was hanging out. I was at an Alter Bridge show, hanging with Tremonti, and Billy Gibbons came out to see Mark in Alter Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
I happened to have this with me because that's when I was doing Guitar Asylum TV. I don't know if you guys remember that or not.
Yeah, I do. I just watched a couple last night.
Yeah, but I was there doing an episode with Alter Bridge, and I had this guitar with me. And when Billy came in later, I was like, "Dude, here, we signed this," and he's like, "What the hell is this?" But anyway, so I've got that on there, and same thing with this guitar. It's got all the same specs, just no trim. Oh, and this guitar has the graphic on the back too.
Oh, beautiful, man.
Cool.
God. Yeah. How did you come up with that graphic? Is that like H.R. Giger inspired, or what were you thinking?
To me, it wasn't, but Stefan Jensen, the guy that owns Warren Star Clothing, you guys have heard of them?
Yep. I know Warren Star.
Yeah, Stefan started out doing like album covers and artwork for guitar companies and stuff like that, and then he branched off into clothing as well. But so when we decided, once we got the guitar right, I was talking to the owner, Elliot, and I was like, "Look, man, we got this guitar. Now we need the ice. What's going to be the icing on the cake? And he goes, "Let me put you in touch with this guy." So Stefan called me one day, and we talked on the phone for about an hour on subject of some things I was into. And at the time, I was heavily into the X-Files and stuff like that, some sci-fi stuff, and so we talked about it, and I didn't hear from him for a little while, and then I showed up at NAMM, and I opened the case, and it was that guitar with that graphic, and I was like, "Holy shit!" Right? So the initial idea, he came up with the name Xenocide, and it just means like alien, alien death. So to speak. It's kind of like unearthed alien technology that's like half human, half machine.
Yeah, I love it.
Half something. I don't know about human, but you see it's got like bones and all kinds of crazy.
God, that red one is so sick.
The more you look at it, the more you find stuff in the artwork. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's sick.
And there's only this guitar, and I think two others that I used to own as well that have the graphic on the back. None of them, they don't normally come with the graphic on the back. So I wanted that to be a thing for all of them. I thought that would just be great. And if you look closely at this is not black. It's a very, very deep blood red metallic.
Nice.
You can tell that on here. So it matches all the way around. Big ass neck. 23.5 on this side. Right? 25.5.
Wow.
So, and then we also made some low F sharp models as well. So we had RC7s and then 2 8 strings, fan fret and straight fret, low F sharp, high A.
Wow. So Rusty, that 8 string is tuned low B to high A?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what we have the fan frets on there for. That guitar cannot function without a multi-scale fretboard. So the high A side is 23.5. So I put like an 8 gauge string on there, and you can bend the hell out of it.
Wow.
Break.
See, that's the secret sauce, getting the scale length smaller on that side, because I feel like for a long time, guys were experimenting with 8 string and extended range, and they wanted the high, for violin, Uli John Roth type stuff.
That's exactly why I did it,
And they were looking into using different materials and surgical steel of certain types to get down to this 6 gauge or 7 gauge.
So
did you?
So I've got some interesting stories on that. So
go into it.
So when I was playing, after I got my 8 string Dean, this guy called me. forgot his name off the top of my head, but he's got a company. I think the string company is called Octave 4 Plus. His name's Gary. So this guy invented strings that you can put on a regular scale neck. I still have some of them that he sent me. You can put 25.5. You can put them on a longer scale, and they won't break. So he came up with some interesting formula of metals that you don't have to have a multi-scale fretboard to have a high A string. I mean, I think he's got some strings that go up to like a high C or something, like piccolo even on some of his guitars. If you get a chance, look him up. The name of the company is Octave 4 Plus, I'm pretty sure.
Cool.
Yeah, I got some strings in here. I'll check later. But yeah, so you can, that's one company that does make strings, but even with those strings, he tells you like you got to take your time tuning it up to pitch, do it slow. But once you get them tuned up, they work great. They don't break. I took one of my 7 strings at the time, and I strung it high A to low E, which was pretty cool.
Wow.
I had that string on a Floyd, and it didn't break. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So that's super cool. So there is a way. I don't know if he's still in business. I know his website's still up, but I don't know. So this is what I did after Ormsby. This was supposed to be the new guitar. And I was working with this guy, and we were going to do a guitar company together, and it just didn't end up working out because he makes all of his guitars by hand, and he was only going to be able to make so many a year. So the project just got abandoned. But so this is mahogany body. Actually, it's quilted mahogany.
That is gorgeous, dude.
I didn't even know they made it. That was such a thing, Yeah. And then the tops, got a quilt and flame maple neck through on this one too. And as you can see, I put all my straps back here. Right.
Okay. Yeah. You have the innie, right?
Yeah, the inverted strap box. But the reason I put my straps back here is super critical. When I sit in practice, I always sit in classical style like this with the footrest under my left leg and my knees up elevated, brings my guitar up higher in my core. So even when I would stand up, when my strap was here, right, my guitar would be the same height when I would stand up, but what would happen was the guitar would swing over like this.
No.
So everything that I practice sitting down, when I stand up, even if it's the same height, now comes over here a little bit. So it throws all my mechanics off, right? So I started putting my strap pins back here, and that stopped it. So
no kidding.
When I'm sitting and practicing, because it holds right there. Comes right over shoulder. Doesn't come over to an angle that way, where the strap goes this way, because then it wants to pull this way when it
wants to push the guitar. Yeah,
it wants to push the guitar to the right. So when you stand up, so by putting it right here, the strap comes straight down over your shoulder. It just drops there, doesn't move left or right. So
that is so cool.
You can go from sitting to standing, and it never moves.
And that one that it looks like the body is slightly graded, but no arm contour on the top.
Well, it's got this little bevel here.
Okay.
Right. And it's got this little cut here. It's just kind of aesthetic. It just kind of looks cool.
Okay.
But aside from that, there's no arm bevel. There's not really much belly cut either.
Wow.
We took the input jack and actually routed it into the guitar on this one instead of having it just flush mounted. That's kind of cool.
That's
this
cool.
one has 26 full. Let's see, 26 full frets and half of 27 goes up to the D string. But everything else is the same kind of features. Neck is sunk in deeper, so the Floyd sits there, and super tall frets, and all the specs that we talked about for the RC7. We have on this, just more frets and some things like that. And I don't really, even on this guitar, I don't use the extra frets that much. So I don't know that I'll continue to do more frets. Maybe definitely not 27, but
right. Does that confuse you at all? Seeing
it's a little weird to look at a little bit. You know what I mean? Sometimes you get up here, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I got 2 more frets now. But, and it's just like it's only cool because you can run a little bit longer scale run. You do one extra. I can do a high F sharp. It's a high F sharp.
Wow.
But I don't know. It's kind of like when I had my 9-string. I had a 9 before I was with Dean. I had a 9-string Conklin made. That was high A to low F sharp, right? And with that guitar, it just didn't really work out for a couple of things. The technology really wasn't there yet. And you can't have a 23.5 scale and go lower than 26.5 on the low F sharp, right? Because anything beyond that, the fan would become really crazy.
Yeah.
And at the time, there was only one guy that made pickups for a 9-string, and they didn't. It kind of sucked. And where I was at in my head at that time, it was like, okay, this is really cool, but I felt like the only benefits that I was really getting to it was novelty. It's like, okay, now I can run a little bit longer scale run. It wasn't really you know what I mean? I was just like, okay, I don't really need that, you know? Not to say that I would think the same way if I had it now, if it was built right, you know? But I was just like, I don't, you know, whatever. I can already do enough with what I got.
I really hope you get to another company that can produce your idea, because I think this is just like serious guitar innovation that needs to happen, because you're thinking about the actual guitar player and making it easier to perform. Your playing is like an Olympic sport. You need an instrument that can, it kind of is. I mean, like,
I agree. It's, you know, you gotta get it out of your way. I mean, it's like when that dude invented the Nike tennis shoes and started letting that runner, I forgot the story, but you know, he brought him Nikes. You know, nobody else had ever had them, and he was running marathons and stuff with these shoes or something like that. I don't remember the story exactly. And they would fall apart on him halfway through the race and shit because the glue wasn't good enough. Yeah, I would go back and make another pair that night so he'd try them out the next day.
yeah, totally.
I mean, it's like that. You know, you have to figure out a way to make it work. You know, I mean, my ultimate guitar would be a neck, no matter how many frets that I had on it, that it would always play like I'm here.
Yes.
Nothing's ever in your way here. So when you get up here, nothing should be in your way. And this guitar is pretty damn close to that. But my hand hits right at that last fret. And there's got to be something done back here, because right here, and even though this guitar, dude, on this thing, we don't get to the body until the 25th fret.
That's
right
insane.
Here. You know what I'm saying? That's the 25th fret. That's how out of the way the neck is, and the heel of the neck. And you can do
it's
that
like set. It's like a special set type job that he did.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. So I mean, that's 25 on the low side, and that's 26 on the high side. Really, you know, that's 26 right there, and there's where it ends. Right?
So Rusty, let me ask you this, man. Yeah. First of all, who built that guitar? And then second of all, would you ever go back into a deal with Dean and make Dean guitars again?
I would love to go back in with Dean, honestly. The people that I had a problem with that company are now gone. And if they were interested, I'd be all about it, man, because they've got the CNC files. They know how to build this guitar. And it'd be great.
I want you going back.
Yeah, and I feel like that's where the majority of my fans would love as well. You know what I mean?
Well, didn't those guitars sell well in their day?
Oh man, they were the best-selling USA models for several years.
Well, let's go. Let's get it.
Yeah,
let's get
we're gonna make this happen. We're gonna try to get this to happen.
Shred session.
That would be super awesome. You know what I mean? I would love that. I mean, it was a great thing. The owner of the company, Elliot Rubinson, unfortunately had passed, and that's when things started to go bad at the company, for me at least. And but Elliot was a great dude. I have nothing but great things to say about him. Anytime I had any issues with anything, like one of the artist reps wasn't a big fan of me and or the guitar.
That sucks.
Because it was a difficult guitar to build, and he would always complain about it. So anytime I had an issue, I'd just go to Elliot, and Elliot would go, "All right, done." You know, anything I had an issue with, Elliot was like all over it, man. So, dude, you know, my number one fan there was gone. You know what I mean? So
I would pay big money for a US version of that. No joke, man.
And the cool thing about it was they would make you any variation of this guitar you wanted. You know,
wow.
You come up and say, "Hey, I want a purple one." You know, blah blah blah. This frets, this pickups, whatever. They would build it. The only thing they wouldn't do was change the body or the neck, or the general design of it. But you could call it up and have it made out of any combination of woods, colors, whatever. You know, and if you get online and search, you can find a bunch of really crazy custom builds that were badass that were just one-offs for different people that would order them from the custom shop. There was a company up from New York. I forgot what the name of the company is now off the top of my head, but man, they would always call up and order several different versions of the RC7. Super cool guitars, super cool ideas. I was like, man, I want one of those. It was my own guitar, but it was their idea.
Well, the Dean Custom Shop guitars are truly stunning. I mean, the stuff that Carl Sanders has, are just amazing, man. It would be so cool if you got back with
I recently just got this one back. This was one of my guitars from years ago, and I traded it to a tattoo artist for this. and this was like in 2012 or 13 when I did that. And earlier this year, a friend of mine called me up and said, "Hey, man, some guy's selling a Xenoside out in the Woodlands. Check it out." And he sent me the link because he knew I was trying to get some of them again. And I saw the name. I was like, "Oh, dude, that's the guy who did my tattoo one." So I called him up and said, "Yeah, dude, I'll buy it." So I went out a couple days later and bought it back. So super cool. And
that's awesome. Congrats.
I originally put one of those stone tone blocks on it. Those trim blocks. Those
Did it help
cool.
with the sustain?
Yeah,
wow.
And tone. It does some cool things with the tone. Kind of gets rid of any muddiness that there might have been, which there's not really. These guitars aren't muddy anyway, but kind of gets some clarity. Also, a unique story on these guitars. The first production models, I can't remember how many there were to be exact, but they came with the painted headstock.
That's so cool.
And there was only the very first ones that came with the painted headstock. And I think the story goes something like the reason they painted it was because the ebony binding on the headstock bled into the maple. Whoa. So they just painted the whole headstock to fix the issue, because there's nothing you can do. The guitar's done. And then the ebony bled into the maple and you can't get it out of there. So they just painted the headstocks. The very first few of these guitars actually came with the serial number and handwritten gold Sharpie or marker paint or whatever.
Dang.
So this one's not quite that old because this actually has the stamp on it. But if you ever see one that has the painted headstock or in Sharpie or paint pen, whatever it was, man, those are the first ones.
Wow.
So it's interesting stuff like that. So getting this back was super cool.
It's cool that the whole headstock is painted, the front and the back. Yeah. That's pretty.
No, it looks way classier than if you just had wood back there. Yeah. In my opinion, which is how every other guitar made overseas, they don't paint that. So,
and then I traded one of my guitars. One of my students, the student that told me about that one, I traded him a 6-string guitar that I wasn't playing very much for this because I only had one Xenoside left, and except for the 8-string and the mahogany one that I totally destroyed. Not really destroyed, but it's scalloped to hell. But so the frets were getting really bad on my main Xenoside, and I didn't really have anything else to play that I wanted to play. It played as good as this one does. This one just plays amazing, and I didn't have that one at the time either. So I bought this, or didn't buy it. I traded one of my 6-strings that I didn't play anymore to one of my students for this. And I threw the yellow EMGs in. I had these just sitting around waiting for a guitar to put them in, So it worked out great. Maple neck, super thin.
Looks wild.
Yeah.
That's sick.
So,
yeah. Well, Rusty, I wanted to ask you, man, recently you've been uploading some throwback videos on your YouTube channel, which I'll say you should have more subscribers than you have. I don't know what people are doing.
But I can tell you this, they're all organic.
Yeah.
Well, good.
People should subscribe to, if anybody's not, just hit subscribe, guys.
Yeah.
Come on. It's Rusty Cooley. So, something that I really enjoyed was when you're playing, Under the Influence and some of your early instrumental stuff in it looks like, a living room. You've got Rugrats running around on the floor around you, your kids.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
What was going on in your life during that time? And where was your head at in terms of what you wanted to do with guitar and with your career, and kind of just talk about the horizon of what the guitar world looked like during that time?
Well, the guitar world was very bleak at that time because during that era, it was Korn, Limp Bizkit, alternative, new metal, no solos. I remember I was somewhere and they were like, "Oh, you're one of those guys that goes meedly, 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 meedly," and I was like, "You mean one of those guys that knows how to play their guitar?" So that's what I was up against at the time. It was that, I would send demos off to different record labels and stuff, and they would be like, "Man, 15 years ago or 10 years ago, you'd been on top of the world." It's like, well, that's not what I want to hear. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I just kept at it. But it was it's a very interesting time because I got fed up with playing in local bands, and I just decided to I'm just gonna I wasn't teaching at the time either. So I decided that, I'm going to go back and start teaching again, and I'm going to start working on an instrumental record. I'm going to get a 7-string, because at the time they weren't making 7-strings anymore. It was a very, very small window where they weren't making them. So all the guys like Korn and stuff like that, they were playing on old, 7-strings from, the original release. So I was teaching at the Texas Music Emporium at the time, and Ibanez had like 70 trims left. So they released 70 of them, the black and green ones. The store I was teaching at got 3 of them, so I put one on layaway, and patiently paid it off, so that was it. Was like that's when I went back to the woodshed and started to reinvent my playing and deciding where I wanted to go, and where I was at the time. I was really into these underground guitar players that were just pushing it to the extremes, Todd Duane, Derek and Scott and all the Texas guys up there. Scotty Michaud, Buckethead, like when I listen to Buckethead, this Buckethead stuff that I like is the really crazy, tapping and stuff like that. And this is not a jab at Buckethead or in any way, shape or form, but that's the part of Buckethead's playing that I really like. It's not so much when he decides to play slow and a bunch of feeling or whatever. It's just the crazy shit. You know what I mean? That's what I gravitated towards in his playing. So that's where my head was at. I was working on 8-finger tapping, and I wanted to, 4-note per string scales, diatonic scales with my left hand, and 3-note per string crazy pentatonics and multi-tapping. So I was doing if I was doing a 3-note per string pentatonic with 3 fingers on this hand, I would do 2 on this hand or 3 on this hand. You get 5 and 6 notes per string. And the cool thing about that kind of tapping is that when you're not watching somebody do it, you don't really know it's tapping. Mm-hmm. It just sounds like
exactly
right. So that's kind of, some of the stuff that I was pursuing. I when I first started, decided to make that decision and decided to go instrumental and work on reinventing my playing, I practiced legato for like a year, just hardcore. That's when I came up with like the legato workout that's in Shred Guitar Manifesto. And, it was just legato. I didn't practice alternate picking. I didn't practice sweep picking, none of the normal stuff. Because at that point, I felt like, at that point I had my alternate picking together, and I had all my sweep picking. I had all my 80s style tapping. I had all the 80s shred shrapnel stuff. I had it under my belt. I was good with it, and it was like time to take it up a notch. And guys like Todd Duane and Derek and Scotty Michaud and Bumblefoot, and of course Sean Lane. I mean, dude, God. Yeah, can't say enough about him. And always been a Holdsworth fan. So, it made sense to me. When I first started doing 4-note per string stuff with my left hand, I thought came up with something new. And then I discovered that Holdsworth had been doing it for a long time. And I was like, oh, well,
what can you do, man?
Right. So, and then I figured out that Brett Garson was doing 4-note per string stuff because he was also influenced by Holdsworth. And, so I just kept at it and did my own thing with it. And it was an interesting time as well because, my son was born around the same time that I decided to go back to teaching and, do the whole instrumental thing. So I was, I get asked this question, at least then all the times, like, how do you play that way and still raise kids and teach? How do you do all that? And my answer was, I don't know. I just do it. I have to. I don't have any choice. I want to play guitar and do this kind of music. I have a family, and you just figure out a way. I feel like I practiced more when I had all those responsibilities than I do now with less amount of responsibilities, because I'll always find a reason to procrastinate and go do something else. Mm-hmm. But when I didn't have the time, then it was like that's all I did. Because then I felt like the crunch. You know what I mean? It's like if I don't spend every waking moment that I have practicing and playing. When I have that opportunity, I'm never going to get where I want to get, and my thought process was always like this, my guitar heroes are still practicing, right?
Yeah.
How am I going to catch up? So whatever they're doing, I'm going to have to double what they're doing to try to catch up. That's the kind of framework that I used to, build from. always practice everything 5-minute intervals, practice schedule, set goals, and you just get in there and do it, just nonstop every day.
When you were having this legato renaissance, how did you approach it? Were you doing this very slow and methodically and really concentrating on every muscle movement and trying to limit, make maximum contact with the least amount of motion? Or were you going for the gold and then working backwards? Like, what was your thought process there?
So I've never been a super overthinker.
Okay.
So, but that doesn't mean that I didn't think methodically about it. And what I mean is, like, I teach all the time. So I have students, that come to me with all kinds of crazy questions. And I find that sometimes the overthinkers get in, they step on their own toes. You know what I mean? They keep themselves from regressing because they're constantly thinking, maybe it's the pick. Maybe I need to change my pick angle. Maybe do this. It's like, dude, just pick. That's all the more I think about. Here's what I think about when I pick. Hold my pick between my thumb and my index finger. My thumb overhangs the other side. I clamp down like this, so my index finger is kind of pointing back towards me if I go like this. And when I'm picking, you only want the depth of the pick to dig in the actual depth of the string or less. And you only, if we lived in a perfect world, when you picked on one string, when you went from across the string, it would never detach from the string. That's how minimal the movement would be. Obviously, that doesn't work when you play on a guitar with more than one string. But if you were on that one string, you wouldn't even detach from the string. So I don't go very much beyond that. Just don't pick from the joints in your thumb and fingers. So, all this pick slanting and all this stuff, it's like, I don't think about any of that shit. I just pick, and I practice. And I think that's the beauty of learning how to play when I did learn how to play, because there was no internet and we didn't have somebody every time I flipped on YouTube telling me why I suck.
Oh, God, dude.
That shit eats me. I was like, who are you to tell me why I suck? I don't even think you're doing it that great.
Sure.
No, but anyway, I digress. Don't get me started on all the YouTube bullshit, but
we could go that.
I kind of want to get into that. Let's go.
Yeah, well, we can talk about that and all the mimers and shit, but that's so. I wanted to, with my first instrumental album, I wanted people to feel the way that I felt when I heard my favorite guitar players. When you hear somebody new that's just friggin' amazing and pushing the limits to guitar, beyond what you ever thought was possible, that feeling you get inside. I can't describe it. It's just like this, I wanted to try to recreate that in my listeners with my music. You know what I mean? And I always wanted to be a contributor. I wanted to leave something behind, for people to learn from, not just playing, you know what I mean? Something that, when you contribute something, that becomes a staple part of music. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Everybody learns that, and I wanted to leave something behind, whatever that might be, that people can learn from, and I think through my educational material and stuff like that, which I plan on doing a lot more of that stuff. Hopefully that'll happen. But, it's about taking the guitar someplace new. And there were times when I was working on my instrumental album that I would get caught up in thinking about song arrangements, and I had to remind myself that these are my songs. I don't have to use any preconceived notion of what an arrangement of a song should be, and I also I would start finding myself trying to practice maybe some Sean Lane licks or some licks by other guitar players. And I'd have to stop myself and go, you have enough of your own ideas. Pursue those. It's easy to pursue a musical idea by another musician when you can hear what the end result is. But when you're creating something new that you've never heard anybody else do, it's hard to follow that through because you don't know what the end result's going to be, if you're even going to like it. So I had to force myself to keep pushing on my own ideas and just see them through, and not just go back and start practicing other people's licks, But I can say this much: there's a great value in learning stuff by other guitar players, and the value that I find in that is, whatever you learn something by another guitar player, you want to take that and see what you can do with it, branch off on it. I have one of my other Chops from Hell lessons is extreme pentatonics. That whole thing came from me learning one lick by Paul Gilbert, and that turned into the whole instructional thing, which is all that 3-note per string pentatonics and 5-note per string blues scales and all that stuff, even 4-note per string stuff spawned from that one idea. And that's a big thing that I follow. It's like, never let one good lick just be one good lick. Milk it for all it's worth. How many different ways can you play this? What can I add to it or take away? Or what scale can I put it in, or arpeggio? Or, just pursue it, to its fullest degree until it, you run it dry. So,
man, that's so inspiring, dude. And
thank you.
When I listen to like your solo stuff, like the Under the Influence arpeggios and just the speed that you're playing at, I feel like a lot of emotion,
Thank you.
and
Thank
like
you, man.
I feel like shred guitar playing, it often gets labeled as this like mechanical, non-emotional thing, but when you're playing something that's that fast, like, I mean, think about like the Paganini Caprices and the speed that stuff was happening at, and people were like falling out of their chairs watching that, thinking that
that's who I want to play like those guys.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
So something that kind of pisses me off about the guitar community is I feel like we just over celebrate the session guitar player, right? That plays to the song, which like there's a whole world of a career that you could build off of that. And I chose long ago not to pursue playing for artists and playing for just like songwriters or whatever. I feel like I identify with people like yourself that are trying to add something new, like trying to get the instrument to offer the world of music something new.
For sure.
So
I feel the same way. I passed up some really big opportunities in the music industry just to stay true to what I wanted to do, because I felt like, if I take any of these bigger gigs, what does that really mean for me? Right. And, the only thing that I could see that it meant for me was, well, I can have a little bit bigger fan base, and maybe make a little bit more money during this particular period, because I never saw any of these opportunities that I had as being long-term. You know what I mean?
I know Megadeth was one of those opportunities.
Yeah, that's a very rotational guitar band. You get a couple albums and whatever, you know what I mean? So I just felt like, well, I could be on a tour bus with some guys that I don't know for 16 to 18 hours a day, play somebody else's music for a couple hours a night, and then just sit on everything that I have musically and creatively just to be a bigger rock star or whatever. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. That's not why I do this.
Mm-hmm.
I do this because I want to play my own music. I want to do my own thing. And that's how you do it. You might end up struggling more or whatever, but in the end, you're much happier. I believe, at least I have been so far. Hopefully that doesn't change.
I agree with that
for sure.
Respect, man.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mad respect.
Yeah. You just got to do what you do, man. And that's when I first started playing guitar, my ears sucked really bad. So when I'd sit down and try to play stuff by other people, learn it by ear, because there was no other choice back then, I would find that 5 or 10 minutes into it, I would have written a couple of my own riffs by trying to figure out other people's stuff. So after a while, I just ran with it. It's like, so I just started listening to whatever really moved me and inspired me. I would listen to it. And I would pick up my guitar and try to play something like it, but not play it, not copy it. Just get the vibe of whatever was going on with it and just see what I could come up with. And that's worked for me to this day. If I hear something cool, I just pick up my guitar and try to do something like it. And usually the end result doesn't sound like what I'm trying to kind of do. For example, years ago, I'd call up one of my friends and say, hey man, check out this new riff I wrote. It's kind of like, I'll See the Light Tonight or whatever, whoever, Racer X or something. And they go, dude, that doesn't sound anything like that. So as inspired as I was by whatever it was I was listening to, the end result didn't end up really sounding like what I was aiming for, which was good because I'm still developing my own voice. And, I used to practice along with like Racer X records in high school. I'd practice improvising, and I would never copy what Paul was doing. I would listen to what he was doing and try to mimic it in the respect that if he was doing an ascending run, I would do some kind of ascending run. If it was a sweep, then I'd do a sweep or whatever. So anytime that I came up with anything, it was still mine, even though it was heavily influenced by Paul, but I never actually learned his licks. I wasn't copying it. I wasn't learning it note for note. I found the key and I ran the scales and arpeggios and just tried to be musical with it and just mimic through, just listening. And, that's another thing that really helped a lot as well. I know a lot of people are strongly, set on, you have to learn tons of covers and, that's how you learn to write songs and all that stuff. And that's great if that works for you, but I find that I can listen to a song by somebody and listen to the arrangement of the song. I don't have to learn it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if this song goes, you know, verse, bridge, chorus, solo, yada, 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 I don't need to learn that song and spend the time to play it to understand the songwriting formula of it. You know what I mean? You know, if you understand scales and harmony well enough, which, you know, everybody goes through that phase where you have to learn that stuff. You know, nobody knows that initially, but unless you're lucky enough to play another instrument for years, like, you know, guys that like Tony McAlpine played classical piano for years before he picked up guitar. So that's got to make it so much easier, you know, to a certain extent. I mean, it doesn't instantly make you a guitar player, but you understand music already. You know, you just have to do the time, put in the time to learn how to pick and, you know, fret and all that stuff. But with a knowledge like that already in your pocket, that makes things a little bit easier.
Yeah, I think the way that he navigates the fretboard too is very much like a keyboard player. A lot of octave diagonally, like just from hanging out with him one time when I worked at Eventide, and know, he views it like a piano player, man, for sure.
Yeah, Tony was definitely one of my big influences. I still have the first Shrapnel Records ad. It's a little square about that big out of a Guitar Player magazine or Guitar World or something, and it was Steeler, Tony McAlpine, Edge of Insanity. It was Vicious Rumors with Vinny Moore, and it was Paul Gilbert, Racer X.
Oh my God, dude!
That's where it started for me, man. Dude, I'm like the bastard son of Shrapnel Records. You know what I mean?
The bastard son.
To everybody. Yeah, I've listened to everybody that came up through that era. I was, you know, just diehard.
Yeah.
That record label hugely impacted my guitar playing.
You're the one who got me into Jason Becker, man, because like the second lick on that Shred Manifesto is that like a minor sweep that goes, you know, it's like the second inversion minor shape or first inversion minor shape, and you're going across 3 strings and then 5 strings, and you're like, Jason Becker, Jason, and I was like, oh, who's that? And then I started listening. I was like, this is sick.
Yeah, man.
You know?
Yeah. It's interesting because my instrumental album really has a lot of elements of the traditional guys, like that, Yngwie and Gilbert and Tony and Vinny were like the first guys of that genre. I feel, you know, and then you started getting guys like, you know, Joey Tafoya came in, and he was neoclassical stuff as well. But then his second album was kind of like this country fusion-y kind of thing, which was great too. I love that stuff as well. And you got Greg Howe and, you know, and Marty and Jason, and you know, Bruce came in on the second Racer X album, and there was guys like Darren Householder, and I'm sure I'm forgetting some guys now, but you know, and Michael Lee Firkins, you know, as well.
Mm-hmm. Incredible player.
Shrapnel just started kind of expanding outward into all these different areas. Like Darren Householder had this kind of funk thing, and Firkins had the whole thing with emulating slide guitar with his whammy and stuff, and just totally different sound. Richie Kotzen was there as well. You know, all those guys had a major impact on my playing. Vinny Moore as well, especially for picking and sweeping. Vinny got me into playing more arpeggios than just, you know, triads and things like that. But, you know, and then you get craziness like Todd Duane. Have you guys ever heard of Todd Duane?
I haven't.
I know who you're talking about, but I've never listened, like, done a deep dive.
Yeah. Todd Duane.
It's worth it, huh?
It's pretty sick. It's very, it's you just got to listen to it. So I first started hearing some of these newer guys like Derek Taylor and Bumblefoot and you know, Todd Duane, and let's see who else was on there.
Scotty Michelle. He's incredible, dude.
Yeah, Mike Varney put out an album called Ominous Guitarist from the Unknown. It was all those guys.
Wow.
And then Mike Varney's brother, Mark Varney, started a record label called Legato Records that put out like more jazzy, fusiony stuff. That's where Scotty Michaud's first record was released. But he also, before he started doing that, he started putting out these compilation CDs called Guitar on the Edge. And that's where I started hearing Todd Duane's stuff, even though the first time I heard him was on Mike Varney's album, Ominous Guitarist. But on the Guitar on the Edge compilation CDs, Todd Duane started putting these demos. And yeah, man, it was just crazy, just hardcore shredding. You know, I mean, just, you know, 4-note per string licks, and, you know, doing like add nines, you know, where you take the triad and put the 9 in, and you're just playing them across, you know, your strings. Because you every position on your fretboard, you get add 9s or add minor add 4s, right? You know, so if you think about each note at the 12th fret in E minor as being the root note of an arpeggio, you'd have E minor, A minor, D major, G major, B minor, E minor, right? If you take that triad and then you add on the minor, it makes sense. You add the 4 because that's the finger you got left. On the majors, you add the 2 because that's the finger you got left. So then you can come up with these triad licks where every string you're changing is a different arpeggio type. Minor add 4, major add 2. So you get. Sorry, I got to warm up a little bit. But anyway, so you get those kind of shapes, and you do that in every position of the fretboard, right? So now you're playing arpeggios, and it doesn't sound like it. People don't know what you're doing, and I like that as well. You know what I mean?
That's
like
so cool.
Mystery, even though I openly talk about what it is, but when you hear stuff, you're not really sure what you're hearing. It's like when you do sequences of 5s. Did you say you had the art of picking?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so like when you do 5s, every 5 is opposite of the one you just did. Right? So when you start running down the fretboard doing 5s, every position is a different direction. So the listener's getting hit with a barrage of notes coming from everywhere. Right? So that's another cool thing. Just you're not sure what you're hearing.
No, I love that about
totally
your playing.
That.
Yeah,
I remember all those. That's so sick.
Yeah, that the art of picking, that wasn't even meant to be a product. I was doing a video lesson for a student, and it turned out so well. I sent it to Chris at Chops from Hell and said, dude, we should use this. And he's like, oh, I agree, let's do it. So, and that's how we used to do it. I would sit in front of a camcorder and I would play and talk, and I would send him the VHS tape, and he would edit it and make it into the Chops from Hell lessons.
And he's the dude. He started the Chops from Hell. Is okay.
Yeah, Chris Brungard. Yeah, and it's so funny because people used to think that was speeding shit up and stuff like that. I used to get hate mail. It's crazy.
That just drives me nuts, man. Because dude, it's so obvious your words speeding it up. There's just But
even more to the point, we didn't have the technology. I had a video camera. And I had to send the VHS tape to somebody else to have him do whatever he had to do to turn it into a lesson. Dude, if you would ask me are you speeding shit up? It's like, I had no clue. I don't even really know how to do that now. I know you can put it in your DAW and change the speed, but I don't even, I'd have to look it up how you do that, so. It's funny, some of those videos I recently posted, somebody's like, AI slop.
God. Don't even respond to that.
I know, I'm not. It's like, dude, you have no idea what you're talking about.
Don't waste your time with that. Don't get sucked into that shit.
No, I'm not. And I'm really good at not responding to that kind of shit. So, but every now and then
you don't need to. You don't need to.
Years ago, I had a forum on my website, and there's this one guy that always wanted to talk about feeling. And when guitar players talk about feeling, you know exactly what they're talking about.
Yeah.
David Gilmour.
Yeah. So one day I got fed up with it, and very politely, I got on the forum and I said, listen, man, if you want to talk about feelings, so why don't you get yourself a box of tissues, go get a copy of Steel Magnolias, and sit down with your grandma and your mom and have a good cry. And when you're done with your feelings, come out to the gym with the men. We'll be working out.
Hell yeah.
And everybody just died. I was like, you gotta figure out how to approach it. There was one video from Gym Fest where it was at sound check just warming up, and somebody's like, oh, this is just the most garbage, nonsensical slop. And it's like, I was warming up. It's not meant to be particularly musical. Just warming up. Like, people just need to cut people a break, man.
You know what I think that comes from? Like that, the whole feeling thing is, other guitar players like to see in their favorite guitar players something that they could aspire to. You know what I'm saying? So when they finally discover that, hey, maybe I'm never going to play guitar like Rusty Cooley because it's so extreme. I'm going to throw out the scales. I'm going to throw out the 4-note per strings. I'm not going to worry about sweep picking anymore. I'm not going to worry about alternate even. So then they attach themselves to these guys that don't do any of that stuff.
Right.
And make more facial expressions while they're playing guitar than they play notes,
Yeah. So, I have a feeling the world's big enough for everyone.
Yeah, dude.
Sure.
Like, I listen to everything, man. I listen to all styles of music, all styles of guitar players, and I can find something that I enjoy about all of it. But you never ever hear anybody say about Eric Clapton or BB King, God, all they do is play slow. You know,
right?
You never hear
That
that.
is interesting. That is interesting, man.
Well, that's my point. You know, that's
they play with too much feeling. Can you do anything besides play with feeling? It's like, well, as human beings, we have lots of feelings and different types of feelings. It's not just that one feeling. But when you're a guitar player, feelings means one thing. You know what I mean? That's the only time that it's only one thing. You know, I mean, a feeling is kind of like an emotion, right? You know, there's tons of different emotions that you can play with. But I can tell you this much: I assure you that nobody plays for his practices to become that good of a guitar player that doesn't feel or love what they do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't spend hours practicing my ass off without any sort of feeling. It wasn't a mindless, emotionless, mechanical shit. You know what I mean? It's like I was passionate about it. That's how I was able to play that like that. If it wasn't the passion that I had for it, why would you do it? You know what I mean? That's a lot of your life that you're putting into that, and many would see that you're missing out on life. But I don't know. Staying home and practicing kept me out of a lot of trouble. You know,
I still love it, man. That's what I look forward to every day.
I mean, dude, there's many times I enjoy practicing over playing just simply because of what I'm gaining from it, the knowledge that I get from it. It's look what I figure I can do this now, and just practicing improvising and chords, and there's so many chords that, it's like this saying that took me years to understand this, but when I was a kid, somebody said, "You're only as good a lead guitar player as you are rhythm." And for a long time, I thought that meant something to do with timing, and it doesn't. It has to do with your knowledge of chords is going to greatly impact how well you can solo over those chords, and that's a big thing that I'm definitely into, figuring out, just something simple, like, take a chord like this. And just loop that. And like, how many scales can you use over there? Well, I can use Lydian major. I can use Lydian flat 7. I can use Lydian pentatonic. I can use Lydian dominant, Lydian flat 7 pentatonic at the, major flat 5. There's a lot of choices. You go to like this. Yeah. Same chord, but down a half step. So going from A major flat 5, now you got this is A minor major 11, right? So beautiful. I can play A harmonic minor over it. I can play A melodic minor over it. I can play A Hungarian minor over it. We've got multiple arpeggio choices and extensions. Sounds really great. Up top, the major 6 sounds really good. You come in on a little bit on the lower registers, bring in the minor 6. Super cool. The sharp 4 from Hungarian minor. Different types of pentatonics you can utilize over it. So I got this whole series of chords. It's this shape that I move around. Super cool. And so I've got this all tabbed out and put it in Guitar Pro, and I'll just loop it and play over it. And then, I'll make notes of all the different scale choices and arpeggio choices you can play over it. And I just put it on and just let it roll. Now I don't try to play over it, the whole thing like that, because it's way too quick to be able to establish a tonality for each chord. You'd have to play each one. If I was going to like use that progression in a song, every chord would have to be, it wouldn't be a song, it'd be an instrumental, but you'd have to do at least 4 to 8 bars of every chord, just to really fully explore that tonality before you go to the next mode. Next chord is going to mean the next set of scales. It's dominant chords and arpeggios. Love that stuff, because then it's not, when I'm playing over that kind of stuff, it's not about being quick or shredding. It's about notes, listen to how every note affects the chord,
Yeah.
And how, because if you take this chord, it's the A minor major 11, you've got all the notes from harmonic minor and melodic minor and Hungarian minor. So you got 1, 2, flat 3, 4, sharp 4, 5, flat 6, 7, flat 7, and then no flat 7. So it'd be flat 6, 6, 7, right? So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You got a 9-note scale basically when you combine the notes from all of them together.
Yeah.
Right. When you're for choices, right? So you got a major 6 and a minor 6. You got the perfect 4th and the sharp 4. And a lot of times I'll approach the sharp 4 as if it were a flat 5. So for example, if I'm you can solo over a harmonic minor rhythm and use Hungarian minor, and you're just playing the sharp 4 instead of the 4. So it's almost like a reverse blues scale. I don't need to play the 4 in my solo. That's in the rhythm. To just be reinstating the obvious. So I'll go to the sharp 4 instead. So I'll play B Hungarian minor, like in Warcry. The beginning of the Warcry solo is a B harmonic minor rhythm that I'm playing B Hungarian minor over solo. So there's no 4th. It's just the sharp 4. So, and then I'll take and combine those two scales. So then you essentially get an 8-tone scale that has the sharp 4 and the 4. So you get these nice chromatic-y kind of filled stuff like that in between there. Just super cool. Oops. It's like, low Korean. Nobody uses low Korean. Why? Well, because it's hard to make a riff off of a diminished triad or a minor 7 flat 5 chord. But low Korean has other cool chords. How about playing a minor 11 as a 1 chord? Right. Now you got a 1 chord. Super cool. So you can write low. Oh man, I can't even play chords today. But then you got 4 minor 11s in every key.
Rusty, I was interested in asking you, do you have a process for learning like these scales, like Hungarian minor, and do you have like a system that you run when you're learning a new scale and you want to master it?
Yes. I don't know if you guys are familiar with one of my Rock House books or videos. It was Fretboard Autopsy.
Okay. I'm not familiar with that one, but
I think they actually still have that on Amazon, right?
Okay. Yeah, they do. They're not supposed to, but they do. It's another fun business venture. But Fretboard Autopsy basically is, I put everything together in this book that I've used through the years to develop fretboard visualization. Okay, so it's not a theory lesson; it's a fretboard visualization lesson, right? So it starts with like 6-string root modes, 5th-string root modes. Then you do like 12-note split patterns where you got 12 notes of this shape and then 12 notes of this shape, and then it goes into 6-tone shapes, 9-9-6, 6-9-9, 3-octave, reverse. I mean everything: single string technique, linear technique, double string, string skipping, linear technique. Everything that I use to develop fretboard visualization. So every time I learn a new scale, then I run that system through the new scale to develop my fretboard visualization for that new scale, right? So that process will get you where you want to be, because once you've covered all that stuff, you can't help but see the fretboard. I mean, if you break the scales down into as small as 3-note groups, you can do 3, 6, and 9. So if you have a 6-note pattern, like that, just the first 6 notes of G. Well, you have the same thing here, right? So every octave, G. So now you got 7 of those. Right. That's never let one good lick be one good lick. So if you came up with that pattern, then, it's like, where else can I play it in key? Well, you can play it off of every note.
Exactly.
So now you got 7 of those, right? So if you do a 9-9-6 shape, which would be, so it's 9-9-6, 9-9-6. The only reason I do 6 on top is because I don't have another string to do 9. Right? So you got 3 Gs, do 9 off this G, 9 off the octave G, 9 off the next octave G, right? So now you got 7 of those. You do 6-9-9, you got 6, then 9, 9. You got 7 of those, right? Do a 3-octave mode. That's all 6s, 3 octave. Now you got 7 of those. Reverse linear, 7 of those. And when you have a 7-string, you got a 999 pattern because you got that extra string, right? So that works out great. It's the same shape 3 times. And I apply this stuff to arpeggios as well. If you think about it, it's like when I'm teaching single string technique, right, where you just run the length of the entire string. It's like, well, you know how to play the first 3 notes of every mode, right? Yeah, right. It's what my students usually say as a response. Yeah. It's like, well, that's all you're doing. If you want to play every note on the B string in the key of G major, well, the first note is C. So that's C Lydian, D Mixolydian, E natural minor, F sharp Locrian, G major, A Dorian, B Phrygian, C Lydian, D Mixolydian. You're just playing the first 3 notes of every mode, which at this point, my students would already know that, right? So you're not doing anything new. It's not a mystery. You know, it's just start on C, play the first 3 notes of every mode up the neck, right? If you want to do 2-string linear technique, well, that's like, well, if I asked you to do it off the B string, where you're going, like that, well, I don't know how to do that. Well, you know the first 6 notes of every mode, right? There you go. Start on C Lydian, D Mixolydian, E natural minor, F sharp Locrian, G major, Dorian, Phrygian, etc. You know, if you approach it as if it's something you don't know, then you don't know it. But if you think about, well, I know all 7 6-string root modes. That means I know how to play on the first 2 strings in this position. I know how to play on the first 2 strings in this position. You're just dropping off strings 3, 4, 5, and 6. You just got to pay attention to where, and in the beginning, when you're first doing this stuff, you just have to pay attention to what 6-string root mode you're in at that position. So if I'm here, well, that's the top 2 strings of F sharp Locrian. If I'm here, it's the top 2 strings of G major. And here, it's the top 2 strings of Dorian. You're just taking something you already know and becoming aware of it, that it exists everywhere. You could think about a single 6-string root scale as, well, this is G major, this is C Lydian, this is F sharp Locrian, B Phrygian, E natural minor, A Dorian. You're just playing the first 3 notes of every mode,
right,
in position. So it's not something you don't already know, unless you just don't know the modes. But that kind of thinking applies to every scale. If you do traditional tonics, take the first 4 notes. There it is, right? That's part of pattern 2. That's part of pattern 3. Every pentatonic has every shape from all the pentatonics. It's all one thing. You can do unison, right? It happens everywhere. It's what makes reading so difficult for guitar. You got 5 or 6 of the same note. Which one do you want me to play?
Right.
Yeah,
well, dude, thanks for showing us that. Like, that's really fascinating.
Thank you.
I guess if people want more of that kind of stuff, they can subscribe to your Patreon or hit you up for a lesson.
Man. Or you can just sign up for lessons. Just shoot me an email, rustycooleysocial@gmail.com.
Awesome.
I'm here every day.
Dude, that's great stuff, man.
Yeah. I teach Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So.
Gotcha.
I love to teach, man.
No, I can tell.
I can tell.
Man, something I was curious is like, I want to hear more about Outworld,
Sure.
And I know we maybe have like 30 minutes or so left max.
Okay.
But I'd like to hear like how that band got started, how you wrote the music, and then I really love the arpeggios in Riders.
Okay.
I don't know if you still remember how to play that, but I'd love to see to see that, man.
Yeah, man. So Outworld, Outworld kind of started when I was still doing my instrumental stuff. We used to gig out live, playing my instrumental stuff as Outworld, just so that we didn't have a band named Rusty Cooley, right? So I was too crazy about that then. But anyway, so we were playing my instrumental stuff as Outworld, but when I released the album, it was Rusty Cooley. But so I already had the keyboard player, Bobby Williamson. He was the keyboard player in my instrumental stuff, and he was the natural choice for Outworld. And we had brought Kelly in when we were still doing instrumental stuff to start doing vocal stuff. And that was about, Bobby and Kelly were the only ones that were on the first album out of all those guys. We had another guy, Britt Marches, played bass on my instrumental album. He was in Outworld for a little while, and then I moved to Atlanta. And so before I moved to Atlanta, we recorded City of the Dead, the demo version for that song, right? And I moved to Atlanta. I lived there for a couple of years. And when I was in Atlanta, we decided to finish that song and make a demo version of it. So I flew back, and so the demo is interesting because I never played with any of the guys that are on the demo. So the dude who played drums on it, I'd never played with before. The guy that played bass on it, I never played with before. And Bobby had orchestrated that back in Houston. So I had to make a scratch track for all the parts in City of the Dead. So I did it on my 8-track, with a cassette in it, and sent him my scratch tracks. And Bobby had the drummer come in and play drums on it, and the bass and keyboards. And then it was time for me to do guitar. So I flew back to Houston, recorded all the guitar stuff, and it turned out, better than we thought. And it was really, we were all just really pretty blown away by it, how well it sounded. And so it was like, okay, I got to get back to Texas. So I moved back to Texas, and we had a different drummer and a different bass player. The guys, I don't know if you ever heard the Outworld demo. It has City of the Dead, Raise Hell, Grey Tide, which was called Concentration Camp then, and it had Prelude to Madness. And
dude, I just found that on Bandcamp.
What's the demo?
Yeah, you've got all the stuff up there.
The guitar solo on the guitar solos on those songs are not the same, except for maybe Raise Hell. But even then, it's not exactly the same. Matter of fact, the guitar solo on City of the Dead is better than what's on the album, I think. And the reason I think it's better is because when I flew back to Texas to record that stuff, I had something planned and it wasn't working. So Bobby was like, dude, just improvise. So that solo on City of the Dead on the demo is fully improvised. None of that was planned.
Damn.
And it turned out well. And matter of fact, from that point on, the guys suggested that I improvise all my solos, which the majority of the stuff on the Outworld album is all improvised. Cool. But when I came time to record City of the Dead for the album, I couldn't recreate that same feeling and emotion. So it's a little bit different. I tried to copy as much as I could to the demo, but the demo we couldn't use the demo stuff. It was recorded in a different format. So I had to try to recreate it. And it's cool on the album still, but I don't think it has that same just that feeling that you get in that motion when you're creating it, just improvising. But there's even a moment on the demo version of the solo where I almost lost it because of there's a bend in there that I bent the wrong note, and when I figured out I bent the wrong note, I just kept pushing, and I caught it and saved it. So there's one note in there that is like it's a huge bend. It's like something like that. It works. It works great. But the licks on there, just the way I played them with the phrasing and the starts and stops in different places, I just could never recreate it with that same, that same emotion. But I tried it. It came close, but then I added some really shreddy picking at the end. It's not on the demo, and I think just the solos in general, it's worth listening to. The version of the Grey Tide on the demo version is called Concentration Camp. When we got signed, our record label made us take some stuff out that's on the demo version because they thought it was too controversial. So the demo version has got some extra stuff as well. So it's worth listening to all that stuff. It's really pretty cool. But so anyway, I came back to, we did City of the Dead, and then I decided to move back to Texas, and I came back and we had a different drummer, a different bass player. And when we went to record the album, our drummer he just was like showing up, and he wasn't on this game. So 2 weeks into that, we had to fire him and hire a new drummer. So we lost all that money that we those 2 weeks we spent with him. So the guy that came in was a guy named Mikey Lewis, and he learned the entire album by sitting in his room air drumming. And he came to a couple of rehearsals, and he went in the studio and recorded all the drums for the first album. The guy that played bass, who played bass on? Okay, I'm trying to remember. Okay, the dude was on Sean. I'm pretty sure Sean's on the first album. Okay, so before we went into the studio to record the album, we had to get a new bass player, and we moved this dude up, Sean Kasich, somebody that I met when I lived in Atlanta. So we had problems with our bass player before we went in the studio, so we got Sean. He moved up. It took him about 6 months because he owned his own business and stuff. So we got Sean up, and he helped us, get ready to go in the studio. And we got in and had problems with the drummer. And then after, I don't know how much of this stuff you guys know, but we went through hell, dude, getting this album done. So when we were recording the album, our management thought it would be cool if Kelly sang on some other people's albums. We're not even done with our first album, and that started causing problems. And
so when you talk about your first album, are you referring to like the Outworld record that's on Spotify?
I'm pretty sure it's the full length album.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's got some of the songs from the demos and
the
such.
demo's like a 4-song demo. It's got like a red kind of cover thing to it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And then there's the Outworld EP that came out after the Outworld album, which has Carlos on it, Carlos Zima. I don't know if you guys have heard that either. If y'all haven't heard that, you need to check it out. It's super rad. It's like that's where I was heading, the direction that I was going.
Is it the EP 2008?
Yes.
Okay.
That stuff you got to check that stuff out, man. It's pretty rad. It's like, it's kind of, it's a little, I don't want to say less proggy. Songs are a little shorter maybe, but just as intense. And I was doing a lot of crazy modal stuff. Like there's one solo section on there. It goes like from C sharp Phrygian minor to E Lydian major, then to C sharp Phrygian dominant, then to E Lydian flat 7, and then you go to F sharp mixed Lydian flat 6. And so it's like going through all this crazy modal stuff, and it's good stuff, man. I'm really, looking back, it's so sad that band never did anything. I mean, when we got signed, we had a deal. We were getting on a tour bus, not in a van. But before we could finish recording the first album, Kelly was so all over the place, we ended up having to let him go. And that's that. I blame that completely on management.
And that's the vocalist?
Kelly's the singer on the demo and the first album, and then Carlos Zima is on the second album.
Man, what
that's why I was going to say, yeah. The War Cry video has Carlos singing on it. The album has Kelly singing on it. So we did the video with Carlos on it and re-recorded the vocals so that our fans could see that the new guy could sing Kelly's stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we did that. So if you listen to the album version, it's Kelly, and if you watch the video, it's Carlos. But we went through so much hell. I mean, it was just like, it
stinks, man.
Bummer, man, because we could have been somebody.
Dude, that music is so sick, man.
A contender.
I mean, that music is so fun to listen to, man, because it's just it's so metal, obviously, but you've got the melodic vocal, but the melodic vocal is so extreme, man. And then you've got the solos, right? And the band's grooving, and you got the 7-string flopping around in B flat.
Yeah, dude,
it's just like, it's sick, man.
When I had that final lineup, right? Which the final lineup would include Matt Smith on drums. He came in he's on the EP, the 4-song EP 2008. At that moment, I was like, man, I've got my own dream theater, because every member in this band can completely stand on their own, like virtuoso level playing. Matt's a great drummer. Sean graduated from the Atlanta Institute of Music with top honors. Sick bass player, 6-string shred. Bobby's killer keyboard player. Kelly. Dude, nobody can sing like Kelly. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
he's up there. I consider Kelly to be up there with the best metal singers ever. And I was just like, this is great, man.
It was great, dude. It was. So
and
sick.
and then shit just started falling apart. And I mean, the final straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak, was when after Kelly was gone, we got Carlos, and Carlos was trying to set us up some tours in Brazil, and Carlos was coming back with numbers like $1,000 a show and stuff like that, and I was just going like, why are you lowballing us? So this turned into a whole thing where Bobby and Carlos thought I didn't want to tour, when all I was trying to say is, dude, go in and just say, what do you offer? Why do you want to just go in and say $1,000? It's like between the entire member of the band, we'd all get maybe $200 a night, and I'm going to go down to Brazil and do that and come home completely broke and in the red and losing money. Just, let's see what they'll give us.
Yeah.
So, and that was it, man. Bobby's like, I can't do this more, and I'm out of here. So I don't know if I want to put all that shit on there, but anyway.
Yeah.
So I'll stop there on that detail. But it fell apart, and I started doing heavier stuff. So when that band fell apart, I started doing Outworld. I mean, Day of Reckoning, and that's where I was like, okay, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to put 2 guitars, no operatic vocals, and no keyboards. Because I can say this much, that no matter how heavy I wrote in Outworld, that style of singing and keyboards always sucked the heavy right out of it. You know what I mean? So when I did Day of Reckoning, I tried to do, try to pursue that. And I thought, well, I'll try this. And if it works, cool. If it doesn't, then I'll do something else,
Yeah.
Well,
Rusty.
But yeah, man, Outworld is tragic, man. It really is.
Yeah.
It should have been somewhere. And it just because of each person's own, whatever inner battles, we couldn't figure out how to make it work.
Man. It was such a epic sounding band, and I could easily see you guys touring with Dream Theater. Or,
dude.
I mean, I grew up listening to that stuff, man. Planet X and McAlpine, and Virgil Donati and Dream Theater, and
so like Derek Shrinian's
first
album, that Apocalypse 18 something or whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, sure.
All those starts and stops. That's where I got inspired for the stuff in Gray Tide. Where we're doing all those unison runs.
Yeah.
That's where I got the idea for that.
I wondered if you had, man.
Because, you kind of got that vibe. Yeah, totally,
I did, man.
Yeah. And it was cool. Did you guys ever hear the song I played with Derek Shrinian?
No, I haven't.
I don't think I have.
What is it called?
So the album that I'm on is called Molecular Hanosity.
Oh yeah, I've listened to that record.
Yeah. There's a song on there called Frozen by Fire. That's the song that I wrote in Outworld. And then when I started jamming with Derek, he just kind of changed it up a little bit and added some keyboards and
I had every Derek Shrinian record, so I couldn't keep straight.
I have it too. So I have listened to it.
all the guests.
So go back and check out Frozen by Fire. That's something I wrote in Outworld.
That's cool.
So good, man.
Yeah, so it was cool to go from listening to that stuff by Derek and then him calling me up and asking me to play on something. Cool.
For sure. Dude, I know Day of Reckoning, it's a heavier band, as you mentioned, but I'm kind of curious, like, do you listen to much brutal death metal? Are you into like Nile and like the really extreme metal?
Carl Sanders is one of my best friends, man.
I figure, I remember you mentioned that.
Yeah,
like
totally. You know what? I'm about to release new music for the first time in quite a while. I've got an instrumental single coming out.
Whoa,
sick.
And it's I don't know if I'm going to keep this name, but this thing that I'm releasing, it's a sweep etude. It was never meant to be anything other than that. It's never meant to have drums, bass, rhythm, guitar, nothing. So I took the sweep etude and I started working with Bryce Butler. That's who's playing drums on it. He's
from Shadow of Intent.
He's a Shadow of Intent drum, right, Bryce. So I sent him the sweep etude and he sends it back to me with these killer drums on it. I'm like, okay, all right. So now I got to go and write rhythm guitar to this after the fact, right? So I never wrote rhythm guitar last. So I had to go and reverse engineer the writing. So that was interesting. And then I got Billy Sheehan playing bass on it.
Oh, so hell yeah.
This thing's only 1 minute and 27 seconds long. Like I said, it was just supposed to be a sweep etude. So I'm probably just going to end up calling it that. So that's what I'm finishing up right now. I'm just tying this into Nile. This thing is so busy. So I called up Nile to get ideas on who I could get to mix it. Because if you've heard Nile's albums, especially their last album, they're, as you know, Nile is super busy. But when you listen to their most recent record, as well as others as well, but specifically for me, it's the most recent one, you can listen to any instrument you want at any time without straining your ear to hear what that person's doing. If I want to just listen to the bass, I can hear what just the bass is doing. If I want to listen to just guitar, I can hear that. If I want to just listen to the drums, I don't have any problem hearing and picking out what the drummer's doing or the bass player or anybody in that band when I listen to the songs. That's super important to me and somebody that can mix my music, because I discovered really quick when I was trying to mix this thing that I can't mix, So I was like, dude, what am I going to do? I
can't do it all.
I just keep turning shit up and that ain't working, turn something down and I can't hear this, so I don't know enough about all the EQs and compression and all the things that you need to know about to make a record like that, or to even begin to get the separation you need in the song. So
right.
I call Carl. I'm like, dude, who should I get? Right. He's like, call Mark. So, Mark, what's his last name?
Mark Lewis. Mark
Lewis. Mark was
dude.
gonna do it. Yeah, Mark was gonna do it, and he was just super busy, and he just kept getting pushed back. And he's finally like, "Man, I know you want to get this out. I just don't think I can get it done in the time you need it." So he recommended Christian Donaldson, which I talked to Christian once in an email, and then Carl told me about another one of his friends, Scott.
I just interviewed Christian last week.
Okay.
So yeah, that's the episode before you.
So Scott, he's going to kill me because I can't remember his last name right now. But his first name's Scott. And Scott is somebody that's worked with Carl on some of Carl's stuff. He's even mixed some Nile stuff, just not official releases. So Carl's like, dude, call Scott. So Scott's working on the mix for it right now. So he's about to have the first mix for it in a few days. But yeah, so I don't remember what the original question was, but I was like, do I listen to brutal death metal? So yes, I listen to. I mean, I don't know who else considered under that category, but I mean, I love Nile and I love Meshuggah and listen to lots of heavy things. If you name some bands, I probably listen to.
Well, I know like the Deeds of Flesh guitar player plays your signature model.
Okay, cool. Now I haven't heard of that band, so I'm gonna have to check those
Deeds
guys
of
out.
Flesh is pretty sick. I think you'd dig that. There's a band called Putridity from Italy that I'm listening to lately.
I might have heard of them.
That's just
you'll have to send me some of these bands so I can check them out. I'm always looking for new inspiration.
Yeah, and Vaughn Stoffi, you know, from Defeated Sanity, like he's
one of my students.
Oh, dude, Vaughn's the sickest, man.
Yeah, so Vaughn's, I just hung out with Vaughn.
He's like a library of like brutal bands. You know, like he really is a studied historian of that style, as are the other guys in Defeated.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, man, I love those guys. The last 2 times they've come through town, Vaughn called me up and had me come out and check it out, and we've hung out. As a matter of fact, they were just here like within the last month. But when Vaughn first came to me for lessons, Vaughn, I don't know if you know this or not, but Vaughn was a jazz guitar player for years.
Yes.
Straight up jazz. And then when he came to me, he was like, dude, I need to learn all this stuff about metal and shredding and stuff. You know? So he took you know, quite a few lessons, you know, and I'm so happy for him and proud of him, you know, because when he first started taking lessons, he wasn't in any of those bands. He was actually working on a band that he had, I think in New York. I think that's where he's from.
Yep.
Somewhere up north. And they were working on some demos and stuff, and he'd play me demos and things like that. And super cool. And then next thing I know, he's in this band and out touring and putting out records. It's killer. He's getting some great exposure, man.
Dude, he's a fantastic player, man. Like I've been lucky to interview them a couple times now. And I'm like a super fan of them. Yeah. I've even learned a couple of their tunes, and they're real ass kickers to learn.
Yeah,
dude.
man. I can only imagine. You know,
it's just stream of consciousness like type writing. Yeah. You know, so. Yeah.
When you first emailed me, the 2 links that you had in there was Carl and Vaughn. And I was like, dude, I talk to Carl all the time. I just saw Vaughn. It's like, this is gonna be great,
dude.
So
Carl was awesome, man. He hung out with me. Well, he invited me to just do a lesson, you know, like a week after we did the interview, and like he wanted to show me some more stuff on the I think it was like the Persian minor or something like that, and then the Nephron Ka scale, which I have those sitting back here. Yeah.
That's funny, you know, because the Nephron Ka scale was just something he came up with,
right?
It's not like a real scale,
right? Yeah.
So when I was doing the instrumental stuff with him on his solo album, because I played on 2 tracks on his last solo album, he's like, well, this is the Nephron Ka scale, and he sends me over a neck diagram for it. We start the whole thing down that rabbit hole, you know, figuring out what it was and stuff. So super cool.
Yeah.
Me and Carl spend many nights on Zoom just geeking out on scales and arpeggios and sequences and all kinds of crazy shit.
Oh man, that's awesome. I love it.
That is sick, dude. That's great that you guys do that. You know?
Man, all the time. You know, anytime he's
I watched your podcast with him. It was really cool, man.
Yeah.
Like,
thank you.
Yeah, on your channel. It was sweet, man.
Yeah, I can't say enough good things about that dude. Yeah. Well, the thing that I found is that most really good musicians, you know, really great musicians, they're always super cool people. You know.
Yeah, I think so too, man.
Generally not the assholes or arrogant or big egos and stuff like that, and they're very open and willing to just talk about music and share what they know. You know. Super cool.
Well,
that's what it should be.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I Go ahead, Christian. Did you have any?
I gotta ask you this, man. I have, man. I've always thought about this. I mean, dude, you are like an ageless entity, man. Like you always look the same. You're in great shape. How important is it to eat clean, work out for your style of guitar playing? Like, is that something that is a big part of your life? Like, because dude, you're not aging, man. I mean,
thank you, man. Thank you. I think that I can attribute that to that. I'm doing what I want to do for a living in music. You know what I mean? That will help you so much, because when you are doing a job or working 9 to 5 and sitting in a cubicle or whatever, you're not happy, you know, and you're not doing what you want. So I was blessed enough to, just be able to play guitar and teach guitar and do guitar. And, that's a lot of it, man, because it doesn't age you. When you're constantly stressed about things, you age, not that I'm not aging, because I certainly am, but yeah. And to your question about eating, I mean, definitely, I try to eat as well as I can. But I'm not always perfect, but because I like sweets, man. Like, Bluebell's got a new ice cream to die for, man.
What is it? What is it? What is it?
Oh, here, let me see.
The Texas Bluebell classic.
This is awesome.
Oh shit!
It is black raspberry fudge.
Oh damn!
It is delicious. Maybe I'll get a Bluebell endorsement now.
Decadence.
Dude,
yeah,
that's cool, man.
It even says new on the lid.
Wow.
Yeah, so I got my mini fridge over here. So here's how I eat sweets. I'll come grab the thing and take a couple bites and I'll put it up.
That's cool.
That's how.
That's good.
Right, overeating.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I don't drink sodas very often. I drink like sweet or unsweetened tea and try to drink water. My girlfriend's always on my ass about drinking water because I don't drink enough water. But, so I try.
You're cooking it off. You're cooking that water off with all the shredding, man.
And I try to stay in shape as much as I can, go to the gym as much as I can. And, I got a new bike for my birthday. So I'm out riding, just
congrats, man.
Thank you. And, I've never been an overeater, I stop when I'm full. So my meals are always pretty small. I don't eat a lot, and I eat more frequently throughout the day and just smaller things, And
that's good.
I didn't set out to do that on purpose. I've just always been kind of like that, When I was a kid, my mom would bring me these big plates of food, and I'd feed it to my dog under the table, shit, Just to do it.
Dude, I got one more question for you. I wanted to ask this before. I know back in the day, I think, didn't you use a Dunlop Tortex that's just like 1.14, and now you're with Swiss Picks and you have 3 different gauges. How do you choose the gauge? What's your favorite one?
So here's the thing. So when I was I was never with Dunlop, but I was using the Dunlop Ultex 2.0. That's what I used.
Oh, okay. Ultex. Sorry.
So, and that's what I mainly use, the 2.0. We just make some of the different sizes for different players, like the small picks. I mean, I have some of those around here, but I don't use the, let me see. So like we got this little dude, this like tiny, it's like the Jazz 3 kind of thing.
Like a Jazz 3.
Yeah, right. I can use this for alternate picking only. I can't use it for rhythm guitar or anything else. It's just too small. I grew up playing a Fender extra heavy style pick. So I just from years of doing this is what I use, this size. But then we make another one that's like in between that. So you got, your Jazz 3 size, you got a little bit bigger, and then the full size. I don't know if I can get this so you can see them all, but,
Okay.
And so, but I mainly use the 2.0. I'm doing some recording, and I've got a couple of these others out to try it, and I always go back to this. But
the full size, that's the full size 2.0, right?
But
okay.
Interestingly enough, I came up with one of these.
Whoa.
So they actually make this, but this is not one of this is the one that they make. It's a little bit different than this. You're probably not going to be able to see it on here because it's just too hard to, let's see, where am I at? Okay, up here. So they look a lot alike, but the difference is the production model, the edges, it's round, right? The sides are round. The one that I made, the sides go to a V.
Oh, wow.
So it's like a knife edge, right? Now, that works with this pick, but Pete at Swiss Picks didn't want to do it that way because he felt like they would wear out too soon. But let me tell you about something about these picks. They don't wear out. For me to reshape this pick, because this pick was this when it started. Just like that guitar used to be an RC7 when it started. So to make this pick look like this one, I had to like literally get like 80 gauge sandpaper. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And scrape the hell out of it. Like if you have a regular Fender style pick or whatever, and the edge starts to wear out, you can take that baby on the carpet and rub it a few times and reshape the tip of the pick. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Maybe I'm not old enough to know that trick, but
I do it on the Jazz 3s too.
Yeah, you can reshape it. Not these guys. When I was still teaching at the music school, I took one like this to the school and I left it for a year. And I only played that pick for a year, and it took that long for me to start seeing wear on it.
That's insane, dude.
What are those made out of?
Well, so here's one more story. When Pete first came to me, he sent me one of these. Actually, the first pick he sent me was a lot thinner, and it was a regular shape pick. And I said, man, well, I use like a 2.0 and something with more of a point. And Pete says, well, we don't really make that right now. Thanks. And I was like, all right, cool. Next year, Pete calls me back like almost 1 year to the tee. And he's like, dude, are you at NAMM? Where are you at? I made you a pick. So he finally made one of these. But this pick is made out of a Durlin material. And it's really warm. Okay. It's a little bit too warm for my liking. Now, I like the pick. The pick played great, and I wasn't going to abandon. Oops, there goes a bunch of picks. That's where they all end up at the end of the day anyway. But I wasn't going to abandon the project. I just was like, dude, just try making it out of, something like the old text, something that's a little bit brighter. I don't like the warm pick. I want something that's got a lot of attack. So he kind of fought me on it for a little while, and I didn't think he was going to do it. And one day he calls me up and he's like, oh my God, I got the picks back. He goes, this is the best pick I've ever played. It's so fast, slides like right off the string like glass. And I was like, dude, you should have listened to me 6 months ago. But I digress. So this is Durlin, and this one, my main one's polycarbonate, and that's the one I always use. Now this is polycarbonate. Yeah, it's got great tone, man. It's got attack, and if you drop these picks on the desk, you can hear a difference in the tone. Here's the polycarbonate.
Oh yeah, totally different.
Right. So. And who would have thought you could drop picks on a desk and hear tone differences, right? But you can, and that's the polycarbonate. This pick it's great, man. I don't ever wear them out. I told Peter, said, look, you're gonna have to either make these things more expensive because nobody's gonna need to buy any replacements. But interestingly enough, I do see people that wear them out. I don't know what the hell they're doing, but
I got to get some of those. Those are sick.
How are you not wearing them out? That's crazy.
Yeah. I don't. You don't have to pick hard. It's got great attack, and And the cool thing also about playing with a pick this heavy is it forces you to be 100% in control of your dynamics.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
It definitely does.
I know guitar players are like, well, when I do my acoustic or funk stuff, I switch to a medium pick. I'm like, dude, I use this pick for everything.
I like that too. I hate switching picks. I find one I like for everything.
Yeah.
Same one for everything. Yeah. But I do want to try those, man. I'm very intrigued.
Yeah, let's get them.
Great pick, man. I love it.
Rusty, do you find any chirp on the 2.0? Is there any chirp at all? Nothing. Wow.
No. Yeah, there's none of that stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, you can get a good pick harmonic, but you're not going to hear any like weird overtones or. Pretty cool. Want to play fast? Get a Swiss pick.
Love it.
The nuclear cheddar.
Nuclear cheddar. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Dude, this is kind of a random last question, and then we can wrap this up, man, because you've been so generous with your time. And dude, I feel like I could talk to you forever, man. Like we could hang out all night talking guitar, and
for sure.
And maybe we can do this again in the future, man. Like,
yeah, man, it'd be great. Maybe we can do it after the song comes out. Or something.
But dude, I was wondering. Yes, that would be sick. Did you ever get approached to do like a G3 tour or anything like that?
I have not gotten approached to do that.
That is so surprising, man. Like, I feel like you would be the perfect fit for something like that.
I think so too, but I think I might be a little too shreddy for those guys.
No, that makes man.
Any sense. You know what I mean? I mean, they've had some crazy guys on like kind of here and there on their tours, but not like as a main guy as part of the G3 lineup. But yeah, I don't know. I just, it'd be sick, dude. I'd be all about it. But
yeah, I don't know if they're still doing those tours, but that had a huge impact on me as a kid. I saw, Vi, Satch, and Malmsteen in 2003, which is crazy to think about. I mean, you released your first instrumental album, you were shredding your ass off when I just started learning guitar.
Yeah.
That's
kind of how I felt as well. Like, so going back to my early days, when I first started playing guitar, I didn't start playing until I was 15. So I felt like I was way late in the game. Right. So Paul Gilbert's only a couple years older than me, but he's putting out a record when he was 18 or 19 with Racer X.
Yeah.
So when I was 19, I'd only been playing guitar a couple years. You know what I mean? So that was what I felt like I was up against. I had to catch up. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. Been playing a kid, and I just started playing. I've been playing maybe 3 years when Racer X's first album, Street Leader, came out. So it's like, I feel you on that, man. So
yeah. Well, dude,
up.
maybe share just some parting words of wisdom for anybody that wants to make a career with this guitar thing, man. Especially, I know a lot of things have changed over the years, but talk about what you have coming up later this year, and just anything else you want to share, just in terms of parting words.
So yeah, I mean, and you guys are getting it first here. I haven't talked about the instrumental single anywhere.
Oh,
so y'all are getting the first ones to hear about it. I've not talked about it publicly at all.
Thanks for sharing it here, man.
Yeah, you're welcome. So I got the instrumental single coming out. Billy Sheehan on bass, Bryce Butler on drums. Day of Reckoning is gearing up to start cranking things out again, doing some new material and playing. So we're currently looking for a bass player and a drummer. Such a hard thing to find. It's difficult finding members in a band. They want to be in the band, not just like touring and fill in or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's a pain in the butt. But we're gearing up. I've got a lot of material. I'm just sitting on stacks of stuff that just has been waiting to get to. But as far as like any kind of advice that I can give, it's like there's a couple of things. Number one, if you decide that you want to do music, you need to make sure that you really want to do music. You can't go into it half-heartedly. You know what I mean? So be 110% or 150% sure that that's what you want to do, because it's not easy. And as long as you love it, you can do it. But that's what it has to be. You have to love it. To make a living at it, you have to love what you're doing more than anything else. Sometimes more than eating. It's been a long time since those days, but you just have to love it, man. That's the bottom line. You have to know more than anything in the world that this is what I want to do, without a doubt, 110%. Because if you don't, and you don't feel that way, it's not going to be an easy road.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So just love it, and then be multi-talented, because nowadays it's not just good enough to be a guitar player or a bass player. You have to know how to do social media. You have to know how to edit videos. You got to know how to record yourself. You got to know how to write other instrument parts. It's like nowadays the pressure is so demanding. You have to do everything. And so, for me, I didn't, I grew up in the era that I just had to be a good guitar player. And those other things weren't even a thing then. And I still like that too, because when you have to do all those other things, it takes away from what you want to really perfect.
Right.
So, that's tough. I feel for all these up and coming musicians that have to do all of that shit. Maybe that's why we got so many mimers out there. But we never got to talk about that. But
they're cutting corners.
That's part round two. That's going to be round two. We're going to do a whole episode on that.
Just go into it being 110% sure that's what you want to do. That's the main thing. Love it.
Cool.
So, hopefully that helps somebody make some decisions or not.
Yeah.
Actually, don't listen to me. No.
No, man, you've shared so many awesome things tonight, and thanks for sharing your time and your story with us, man. Like, we are eternally grateful
thank you.
to you. So
yeah, man, it's been my pleasure. Enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, guys, thanks for checking out the show. If you made it this far, you're a true super fan, and so you get maximum shred tier status with that. So thank you for supporting the show. Check out Rusty Cooley's Patreon and shoot him an email, rustycooleysocial@gmail.com, if you want to take a lesson. So we'll see you in the next one.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.